Airports are places where people come and go, where hellos and goodbyes echo across marble floors and steel walls. They're filled with reunions, departures, and 1,000 unseen stories passing each other like shadows. But one morning at Karachi's Jinnah International Airport, a story wasn't just passing through. It exploded into reality with a single bark. It was early, the sun still struggling through the smog outside, when the Customs K9 unit began its routine sweep of the incoming baggage from a flight arriving from Istanbul. Officer Malik walked beside his longtime partner, a powerful, obedient German shepherd named Rocco. They'd worked together for 5 years, uncovering everything from explosives and narcotics to rare smuggling attempts of exotic birds and currency. But that day, Rocco behaved differently. As the black luggage rolled down the conveyor belt, he stiffened. His tail stopped. His ears perked, and a low, unsettling growl rumbled from his throat. Then, in a flash, he pounced. With his jaws locked tight around the suitcase, Rocco bit through the outer shell like paper. He shook it once, twice hard, and blood began to leak from the torn fabric. People screamed. A few backed away. The belt was halted. Officer Malik, shaken but trained for crisis, ran forward and unzipped the case himself. What he saw inside froze his breath. A tiny, trembling golden retriever puppy lay crumpled inside, barely alive. She was wrapped in a blood-stained towel, covered in vomit and feces, her fur matted and soaked in sedative-soaked rags. Her eyes were barely open, her chest rising in jerky, shallow breaths. Around her were syringes, pills, and tissues. She'd been drugged and stuffed in the suitcase like trash. For a long, harrowing second, no one spoke. Officer Malik scooped her up gently, calling for immediate veterinary help. Rocco stayed at his side, sniffing her and letting out soft whimpers as if pleading with her to hold on. The airport's emergency protocol was triggered, and a call went out to a nearby animal clinic. The team that had seen everything in traffickers, explosives, guns, wild animals, was speechless. But what haunted them wasn't what they found. It was how close they'd come to never knowing it was there. If Rocco hadn't reacted in that exact moment, the suitcase might have made it to the taxi bay. The puppy might have died, unnoticed, inside a bag like forgotten laundry. If you believe in second chances, kindness, or the loyalty of animals, please take a moment right now, like this video, comment below, subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, and share this story. It could save another life just like hers. At the clinic, the puppy, who would later be named Hope, was given emergency treatment. 4 fluids. Oxygen. A heat lamp. Gentle rinses to clean the infection crusted around her eyes and ears. The veterinarian said her chances were minimal. She had bruised organs, signs of internal bleeding, and extreme malnutrition. Yet something in her flickered. A soft will to live. And Rocco never left her side. He sat outside the glass room like a soldier, watching, crying quietly each time she whimpered. Staff allowed him to see her through the cage door. When he was close, she tried weakly, barely, but she tried to lift her head. Meanwhile, the police tracked down the suitcase's owner. Through surveillance and baggage tags, they arrested Yusuf Ahmed, a Pakistani man returning from Istanbul who had just cleared immigration. His phone revealed a horrifying truth: he was part of an international smuggling ring that trafficked puppies into illegal dogfighting operations. Hope wasn't a pet. She was meant to be bait. Her fate was sealed long before she boarded the plane. But one thing the criminals never accounted for was a dog like Rocco, one trained to sense life, danger, fear, and love. In the following days, Rocco's attachment to Hope grew. Despite strict canine discipline and training to remain emotionally neutral, he became restless when away from her. He wouldn't eat unless he was allowed to sit beside her kennel. She, too, responded only to him. When a nurse approached, she whimpered. When Rocco came near, she crawled closer. There was a deep, silent understanding between the two. Officer Malik, ever the quiet man of service, watched this with growing emotion. What no one knew was that years earlier, he had lost his wife and unborn daughter in a road accident. Since then, he had buried his grief in routine. Rocco was his only companion. But now, watching the bond between a battered puppy and a loyal working dog, something inside him began to shift. Hope's recovery was slow, painful, but miraculous. In her third week, she took her first steps, clumsy and shaky, while Rocco nudged her forward gently. She began eating solid food again, only if he was beside her. Her fur began growing back. Her eyes began to light up. Officer Malik, deeply affected, started reading case files beside her kennel, sometimes talking to her in hushed tones, as if telling her stories only they understood. He brought her a soft blanket with Rocco's scent. She slept better on it. Eventually, after long medical evaluations, the vet team deemed her strong enough to be released. Offers to adopt her came in from across the country. Everyone wanted the little puppy who survived a suitcase. But Rocco wouldn't let strangers near her. And Malik couldn't bear the thought of separating them. A special request was submitted. And against all expectations, the department granted it. Hope was officially adopted into the canine family not as an officer, but as a healing soul who brought something even more important than detection, connection. She went home with Malik and Rocco. A new bed. A safe yard. Toys. Clean water. Love. She adapted quickly. She followed Rocco everywhere, mimicking his posture, learning how to bark, how to play. But she never strayed far. Even years later, she walked with her body nearly pressed against his, like a shadow holding on to its light. Malik, now smiling more than anyone had seen him in years, began to open up. He started taking both dogs to local schools for educational visits. He talked about animal cruelty, resilience, and the power of love to heal even the worst wounds. Hope became the face of the campaign. She didn't do tricks. She didn't wear vests. But she sat quietly next to Malik as children reached out to pet her. She let them feel what kindness meant. Rocco remained by her side until the very end. On stormy nights when Hope cried in her sleep, he'd nudge her awake, curl beside her, and let her sleep against his chest. She never forgot the sound of zippers. But when she heard Rocco breathing beside her, she always calmed. They grew older together. Their bond became legendary across the city. People who once feared dogs began loving them. Parents who never taught their kids about animal rights began attending seminars. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between healing and heartbreak, a new kind of justice began taking root. Hope's story reached courts, media, and policymakers. Her rescue contributed to harsher punishments against animal traffickers. Her image was used in awareness posters. And every time someone asked Malik how it all started, he simply pointed to Rocco. He knew, he would say. He felt it. I just followed his lead. Rocco passed away peacefully years later, after a decade of service and a lifetime of loyalty. Hope lay beside him in those final hours, nuzzling his neck and refusing to leave. She mourned him for weeks. But she never went back to the fear of the suitcase. Because by then, she knew what it meant to be held, not hidden. Today, Hope lives on as a symbol of what can happen when instinct meets compassion, when one dog decides not to walk past cruelty, but to confront it head-on. And how that single moment of action can ripple into a life saved, a heart healed, and a world slightly changed for the better. If this story moved your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and don't forget to subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. These stories matter, and your support helps us continue telling them.